Cha.
Now, it seems special to you, but when I get a cold, I get very special treatment from the Tylenol people.
Let me go to my hamster bottle again.
Oh, okay. Well, we're getting it on recording this time because Bryan Chaffin, too, with us, everybody, drinking from his hamster bottle.
No one wants to hear that, man.
Well, I didn't want you to do it. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm sure. Actually, I didn't hear it that time. And what's really funny is I do actually have a recording of it from before, but it wasn't on the show. Yeah, but don't worry about it. Right. I'll just, we'll ditch that audio. It'll be fine.
No, now no one's going to know. Kind
of like that, but very different. So another topic, another story that came up since the last time I talked to you. Yeah, but geez, good God. If you think about it, actually, the last time you and I spoke was in October. A few things have happened since then.
It was actually Wednesday.
Whatever. Yeah. So here's the thing. One of the stories that came out recently was, who was it? I guess it was Gene Munster, maybe right around the first of the year. It wrote one of his things, that sometimes people make fun of him for. I personally like a lot of his notes because I find them very aspirational and they make me think about things that I wouldn't necessarily think about. Like we talked about earlier this week, one of the problems might be his adherence to the ideas that he comes up with sometimes make him seem.
You said that.
Bit of a zealot. No, I'm not. I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying some people say that. That seems to be like the impression that some people have.
Okay.
You disagree with that? You said yourself earlier this week that people give him a lot of crap. So I'm assuming that I'm not the only one. And I honestly.
You were correct. Some people do think that, and
yes.
I disagree with them.
Okay, well, you take it up with them then. What he wrote something about services that he would like to see Apple get into. And that to me is sort of an interesting question to ask other people. I don't want to ask you, well, what do you think about this thing that Gene Munster said? I'm curious just what you think about. Are there services in particular that you would like for him to get into? I won't take too long, Apple to get into. I won't take too long here to talk about this one because I did a couple of weeks ago with Peter. But one of the services I would like to see Apple get into is healthcare. And I don't know how I want them to get into healthcare. I just know that healthcare is such a cluster thing here in the States that I would kind of like for somebody who thinks that they could do it soup to nuts to come in and try to do it soup to nuts. Because even if they fail, a la Tucker, or even if they get forced out, a la Tucker, there might be some good ideas to come out of it that could help everybody else. Really what I would like is to be able to sign up with Apple Care. And then I go and I get the Apple Care, at the Genius surgery bar or whatever. So healthcare is one thing I would like to see them tackle. I'm curious if there are any services that you look at and say, I wish Apple would improve on this thing that they're already doing, or that is a service that I would love to see Apple get into, or they're already in this service. What if they changed it so it was like that?
Well, when you asked me this question, I actually thought you meant services within healthcare. Because what does that even mean? What does getting into healthcare even mean?
Well, I mean, when they started running their own clinics for their own employees and their employees were running through their own health, whatever health system that they were partnered with, my assumption is that they're actually learning stuff there that might be able to, help them serve more customers. And then maybe that'd be the kind of thing that you could roll out someplace.
Delivering actual doctor
would not bother me if they tried that. Because you know what I'll bet? I'll bet if I called them, they would know how much something was going to cost. I called my doctor's office and said, how much is this going to be? It was a ridiculously tiny procedure, not even a big deal. But we knew exactly what they were going to be doing when I went in. And I called my doctor's office and said, how much will this be? And they said, well, I don't know, because we're going to have to talk to your insurance company. I called my insurance company and said, well, how much will this be? And they say, well, we don't really know. It depends on how much the doctor's going to charge. Nobody could tell me before I went in. They could give me a ballpark, and it ended up being a little bit less than they expected. But that is one of the very small things. I mean, the fact, I've talked about this here before as well. When Apple started doing, I can't remember the name of it right now, the health data thing, though, where you keep your health data on your phone, you go to your doctor, you hand them your phone, they've got your latest information right there. That, to me, that should not have been such a mind-blowing revelation as it ended up being for a lot of people. That, to me, is the kind of thing that Apple has brought to healthcare so far. And then, of course, there's all the sensors and stuff they're doing on the watch. But I only gave you healthcare as an example. if you want to keep talking about health, that's fine. But if there's something else, okay, go for it. Go.
So for one thing, something that they've, to me, Tim Cook has implied that they want to get into is your health data. I mean, they are already in health data, right? There is health data that is being tracked by HealthKit or being stored by HealthKit.
Yes.
And that could be greatly expanded. And I trust Apple to help keep that information secure and private, but also to make it accessible and usable, not only by other healthcare professionals, but by me. And from there, I would love for Apple to actually get into the business of doing something with our data. Like, for instance, hey, Bryan, you're obese, lose some weight.
Right.
Like, and actual, I mean, working with my healthcare provider to provide notifications on things that I'm supposed to be doing, or maybe things that I should be doing, or things that I might want to think about doing, and actually using that data for my benefit. Now, that's probably trickier than just storing it and allowing it to be accessible and usable. It's way trickier. It's infinitely more tricky. But it would be fantastic if Apple was actually doing that. And again, I trust Apple with this data. At least I trust the Apple that is today. I trust them with this data, and I trust them to actually treat it the way I would want it to be treated. And then from there, I would like for Apple to be doing a lot more in terms of having Apple Watch monitor more and more of our bodies. And again, actually using that data to inform us and help us take better care of ourselves.
Let me ask you a question. If I hadn't thrown the health example to you, because I think that got you sort of running down.
It. I was being lazy.
Well, okay. So is there another service entirely you'd like to see people get into? Like there's or Apple get into? Both Gene Munster and Tony Sacconaghi are turned on by the idea of Apple like doing hardware as a service. That's one that tends to be kind of interesting to some people. Is there another one that
Tony Sacconaghi is the only guy who, like, so many times I've heard him essentially say, "Hey, Apple, congratulations on a record quarter. Now, when are you going to do everything like everybody else does it?"
Right.
Like that drives me bananas. That guy does not understand Apple. He does not understand Apple.
Well, okay. Well, a couple of things. First of all,
here's what I want Apple.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want Apple to get into the ride-sharing business.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Why?
Well, I believe that we have talked about the reality that we have, and this Dave Hamilton was the first person to have pointed this out to me, and I've really gravitated towards this idea. The amount of acreage that we dedicate around the planet to the storage of cars not being used,
right,
is there will come a day when people like really shake their heads. Like, how, it's so LOL they did this, or, whatever is the LOL of that era.
Right.
It is our garages, our street parking, all of this stuff to deal with, to get to store cars that we aren't using. It's insane.
Right. Cars
should be used nonstop, including getting maintenance. And they, it should all be managed from some kind of central, I hate to say database, but we'll go like total 60s, some kind of central data bank, and where cars are being sent to where they're going to be needed before like anyone even asks for them. We absolutely and positively need that. Fewer cars need to be sold, fewer cars need to be bought, fewer cars need to be stored and not used. And the way of doing that is having ride sharing be so ubiquitous and so inexpensive compared to owning a car that it is convenient and practical and cheaper for everybody to get on board.
Is that a question, though, of Apple offering a service, or is that a question of changing people's minds?
No, that's what I think. I think when the services, I mean, this, Uber's headed towards this. Uber saw this pretty early. Baidu, isn't that the company that Apple invested $1 billion in China?
Yeah.
They clearly saw where this was going. I think lots of people have seen where this is going and are trying to skate towards that puck. And I believe that once the puck is there, that when it is practical, when it is convenient, and when it is cheaper, people will, out of their own motivated self-interest, make that choice. We're already seeing younger people do that. When you and I grew up, the first thing you did on your 16th birthday is go get your driver's license. And we have a lot of kids today who don't bother getting a driver's license. They don't want it.
True.
And so we're already seeing some of this happen, and really good ride sharing is not here yet. We need autonomous vehicles that are that are being managed from like a fleet standpoint. I don't know how long it's going to take to have like a global fleet. Probably it would take a one world government to make that happen. But at the very least, for Apple to be maintaining its fleet and Uber to be maintaining its fleet, and whoever else is going to be in this game, Tesla, to the big car makers, whatever, for all of them to be maintaining these fleets and having cars where we're going to need them.
What about rural America, and what about COVID? And what about COVID-19? I mean, the two things that I wonder about are, I feel like the cause of public transportation has probably been set back a number of years now, just by the fact that we can't go anywhere or be near people. But then autonomous vehicles could handle something like COVID a lot better, because they would know when they needed to be decontaminated. Mm-hmm. Right. And we could know that they were decontaminated before they got to us. Yeah.
Right. So we can actually trust that. Now, rural areas are another issue. There will certainly rich people will probably continue to own cars as a status symbol, as a yes, I can afford to own a car. And also certainly in rural areas, any kind of less densely populated area, it would probably be more convenient, more inexpensive, and more practical to continue to own your own vehicle. So it's not like all cars everywhere are going to be taken off the road and it's going to be illegal to own your own car. It's just we're going to end up seeing a rapid acceleration towards ride sharing, especially once we have real autonomous vehicles that can truly actually handle reality. And then there will eventually be a tipping point where that's all anybody does.